All right, well, my clock is showing 9:55. So welcome back, everyone. We are now going to jump into database searching with Angie.
Hi, everyone. Okay. um, I know many of you have used databases before, but this is going to go over some useful databases that you could use for reference questions for your patrons or just research for yourself. Before we go over some of the useful databases for a public librarian, I wanted to do a refresher on effective research. So what is the difference between a search engine and a database? So what makes Google or Bing not as good as a library database? These search engines use crawlers to search the surface web for the relevant material. This material can be written by anyone and is not vetted. I would suggest using search engines to search for basic information on a topic, as I'm sure all of you already do. You can find good resources by just using Google, but it can be difficult to pull out the vetted or reliable resources from the ones that may have the correct information, but may be more opinion-based rather than fact-based. A database, on the other hand, uses the deep web, which searches under the surface web for information that has been vetted by experts in whichever area of research you are doing. These online resources are purchased by the state library and your public or school library to provide the researcher with the most up-to-date and professional information available. The research found on databases are peer-reviewed, written by professionals in their fields, and are generally published in an academic journal of some type. It is at this point where I normally get a question from non-librarian folk about Wikipedia or Google Scholar. I always say that Wikipedia is a great resource for basic information. If a patron knows absolutely nothing about a topic, Wikipedia is the place to start. However, I then point them in the direction of the bibliography on the bottom of the page. They need more information. Many of these entries are from vetted resources and can be used to further a patron's research. Google Scholar is a weird combination of search engine and library database. This feature of Google provides scholarly articles without a subscription to library databases. The information given through a search on Google Scholar is more reliable than information given through a regular Google search, but is still not everything that could be available to you. If the article is free, you will be able to click into it. If it is not, you'll just get the abstract of the item. Occasionally, if you are connected to a network that has access to subscription databases, your Google Scholar search will show the database next to the article on the search page. This doesn't always happen, but it is useful when it does because your patron knows where to go to get the full article. Don't forget to remind a patron to check the library databases after Google Scholar, especially if they find an article that will work for them. They may also need to be told or reminded that you can put in an interlibrary loan request for articles that your databases don't have access to. What are the different ways of searching? There are several different ways that you can search for information. Some of these are Boolean, keyword, and phrase searching. Using all three of these search methods will guarantee the best information for your research. Most databases will apply one or more of these methods automatically, but it's still good to know what they are and what they do. So what is Boolean searching? It is a method of searching that uses certain words to narrow down the search. These word limiters are and, or, and not. Using this type of searching will help you narrow down all of the search results you could possibly get. If you use and, you can search through only articles that include both words. If you use or, the search results will include both words as well as results that have only one of the words. If you use not, then you are choosing to search one word over the other. This works really well for words that are commonly searched together, have similar research available for them, or are similar words. What do I mean by keyword searching? I'm sure all of you have used and know what a keyword search is, but I'll just do a quick review of it. This is the default for most databases and search engines. It will search the keywords in your inquiry, taking away things like the, and, or, a, etc. You can do a keyword search on an article that you've selected by simply using the Control F function. This is typically most effective if your entire database search is keyword specific to begin with. On all databases and even some search engines, you can use advanced search to search through a keyword search of articles. These keywords should be different subjects that would be tagged in the metadata of the item. When searching through these subject terms, you can use a truncation search. This search is done by taking the root of the word and adding an asterisk at the end of it. It is mostly used when you want all variations of a subject. For example, if you are searching cardiovascular, but you aren't finding enough information or the correct information, you can search cardio with an asterisk at the end. And this will give you things with cardio, cardiovascular, cardiologist, and more. This type of searching is important for finding all of the possible articles to the research topic. You also want to make sure you don't put the asterisk too far ahead in the word so you get all of the possibilities. What do I mean by phrase searching? When you Google things, you generally type in a short phrase or sentence to get the information you want. But have you ever noticed how it tells you that it did not search the words in that phrase, certain words in that phrase or sentence? Like stated previously, it usually only pulls the keywords from a phrase rather than searching the entire piece. In order to search an entire phrase, you will need to search using quotations around that phrase. The presence of these quotations tells the database that you are searching for every word in the phrase together. By doing this, if something has an adjective in front of it, or if it is a specific saying, you'll be able to search through only the options that apply to the term that you want. This type of searching will save you a lot of time trying to find instances where the entire phrase is mentioned sequentially. How do you ask questions while doing research? This is basically like asking reference questions. You'll go through a series of questions to narrow down what your patron is looking for in order to get them the most accurate information. Without these types of questions, you may not find the item or information that your patron wants. These are all important steps to help you fulfill reference requests with the library databases. Change slide, thank you. So just some examples of that effective research. So Boolean searching for and, which should be done in all capitals, Minnesota and Vikings will provide you with resources that only include the words Minnesota and Vikings in it. Or will be Minnesota or Vikings will provide resources that have either Minnesota, Vikings, or both words in the articles. Not, which is Minnesota, not Vikings, will provide resources that just have the word Minnesota in it and nothing that has Vikings. In the truncation search, you put the asterisk after the root of the word. So if you are looking for something with cardio, you would put the asterisk after the O, and that would give you cardio, cardiovascular, cardiologist, and more. Phrase searching with the quotations around it will search every word, including the A and the and in the example. So if you want to search the phrase between a rock and a hard place, you'd put quotations around it. The NDSL database list can be found on the North Dakota State Library webpage. This list is found under the Databases tab, and we have organized the list to reflect the subjects that the databases are geared towards, such as students, general resources, professionals, etc. You can find the majority of the databases that we subscribe to on this list. If you don't see a specific one, then looking at the ODIN list will give you each database that we have access to. The ODIN list is accessible on this same page. How do you access the databases? If you're in the library, you will not have to do anything to connect to the databases. As long as the computer is connected to your network, it will automatically authenticate. If you are a public library that belongs to ODIN, your patrons will be able to log in from home using their public library card from you. If you are a school library or a public library that doesn't belong to ODIN, you will need a remote access code from us to provide to your patrons so that they can access these resources from home. As always, the databases can be accessed with a North Dakota State Library card. Just a few updates to this list. There are a couple of minor updates to the databases. We recently added a subscription to PebbleGo and PebbleGo Next. Additionally, ProQuest Newsstream is now ProQuest US Newsstream. We will take a look at these databases changes when we take a look at the databases. In case you were unaware, ODIN updated their login page for those outside of the library or for schools to access the databases. This is just kind of what it looks like. There are still a few glitches in it, such as you might have to log in twice, but ODIN is aware of these glitches and is working on them. So the picture on the left-hand side is what you'll get when you go through the ODIN Authgate. The picture on the right-hand side is where you'll pick your library. And then the picture on the left-hand side is, where you'd put in that remote access code for your public school or special library login. The one on the right is if you chose a university. So that's just a different page. I know if you got the ODIN email about this, this is the example they used. So I wanted to give both of those. So if there are any, I'll take a few questions on the PowerPoint right now. No? Okay. Then let's take a look at some databases. So if I hope many of you have been on this page before, it is our homepage. You can find the databases list on the right-hand side here, right under databases. I noticed that Abby put the link in the chat, so thank you for that. So Bonnie asked if Snopes.com is always accurate. I haven't heard them be inaccurate yet. So I'm gonna go with probably like a 90% success rate. Nothing is 100% accurate when you're doing research after the fact. At least that's what I found. That was a really good question. All right, so I'm on this database page and we're going to take a look at, the new ones first. So let's take a look at PebbleGo and PebbleGo Next first. I'm going to go down to the students section since they are geared towards student researchers. PebbleGo is for children in grades K through 3, and PebbleGo Next is 3 through 6. Now, you'll see that we have 2 links here. However, Minitex and ODIN recently combined these links, so they both go to the same place. So I'm going to click on PebbleGo. So in PebbleGo, this is that K through 3 resources. You have these 2 options. You have animals and you have biographies. Now, these are the only 2 subject areas that you can search in PebbleGo. So I'm going to click on animals. And it looks fun. It's easy for young researchers. So you will notice when you go over each area, I guess, it will read it to you. It will read to the student what it is. So I'm going to click on mammals. And now I'm in a mammals section. In this section, I can choose whichever one I want. You have the option of games at the bottom. You have a question of the day, just some fun things to kind of keep research fresh and fun for students who don't really know what they're doing yet. So let's go with grassland. And you just see that I keep going into a further subject area until I get to specific mammals here. Once I click on that, you have a short little article about the bison. It will read it to you right here. What's nice about it, and I'm not going to click on it, but it highlights the words as it goes, so a student can follow along and know how that word works. You can click on habitat, and they have just these different sections, and then a read more section about, grassland mammals in general, or, as we're all familiar with, the prairie dog, which is native to the same place the bison's native in. You can cite this article right here, just exactly as it is. You can click on article to print it off. So this would print the article, this would print the web page. Activities, and then any videos that might be associated with it. And then you can listen to so that was the sound of the bison. And then the range shows you where it can be found. So you can get out of this by clicking the X here. What I think is kind of fun, and so this would be really good for younger students and maybe those younger kids that are coming in for story time. If they want to learn some computer skills, you can just click on this nice little wheel up here. And it will, because I was in animals, it will just give me something. So you could, I hope you could hear that. So it's a Laura Titan, and it reads what it is. And so that's really important, especially for, dinosaurs, because students, I mean, who can pronounce it? I couldn't pronounce that. So I'm going to go back to the home page. That home page takes me back to choose between Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next. So Pebble Go Next has states and American Indian history. Again, it works the same way, but it looks a little bit more, not sophisticated isn't the right word, but it's less kindergarten and more for, the third grade through sixth graders who like to think they're much more adult. So you can click on states here, and you noticed it won't read it when I hover over it, but I can click on that, and then I can choose. So I clicked on Midwest. I can choose our state, and it has more tabs here than the animal tabs did. It's a little bit longer. The font isn't as big, but you can also kind of scroll through your tabs if you want. It will still read it to you. You still have that site and activity option. You could hear our state song, a recipe from the state, rhubarb upside down cake, dictionary, and then, but what's kind of cool is that it also has a timeline. So the state options have timelines that are related to the state. Again, it has that little wheel up here where, I can click that and it took me to a new state. So that's our new database, Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next. I clicked out of that, and now I'm going to go up into books, magazines, newspapers, and more at the top of our database page. And I'm going to click on US News Stream. So what's really great about US News Stream is that it provides access to hundreds of newspapers across the United States. It not only has the New York Times in it or the Chicago Tribune, but it has the Bismarck Tribune and the Grand Forks Herald. It unfortunately does not have the Fargo Forum. You can search the Fargo Forum and you will come up with stuff, but the most recent one they have digitized in the system is from 1997. So unless you're doing some historical research or you're having, or someone wants news articles from the 90s, because I believe they're digitized from 1993 to 1997, it's not a fantastic resource. But I really like this one for if your patrons are adamant about reading the Bismarck Tribune and you don't want to give especially now, they don't want to handle the newspaper in the library, or they just don't, you're not getting it right away, etc. So to search this, you're going to click on publications up here. Well, first, I will say that you can do a basic search that's like all searches. You can do a topic search that will search all the database, all of the newspapers or all of the publications in here. You could do advanced search, but because we're looking for a specific newspaper, I'm going to click on publications. Now, publications will show you all the publications that have access to, or at least the different types. So scholarly journals, audiovisuals, newspapers, magazines, etc. You can click on newspapers if you want to. I'm just going to search the Bismarck Tribune because it comes up. And you notice that this is automatically set to title and not keyword. So here's the Bismarck Tribune. You know when it was started, so they have coverage from 2003 to present. Unfortunately, and I'm not sure if it's something on ProQuest's side or the Tribune side, but the newspaper is a day behind. So we used to get the most recent issue on ProQuest, but now it's simply the day before. So this is Sunday's newspaper. You can see how many articles are in the newspaper, 44. And what's really nice about it is that you could search within the publication, so that searches within the whole publication, or you can scroll down here and then search within this one. I wanted to show this because I know I've gotten questions from librarians who have gotten questions from patrons who want to look at obituaries. So the obituaries, you can do that search at the bottom, like I said, just put in obituaries, or you can put in, you know, a certain person's name. So all the obituaries are by name. So I'm going to click on this one. So it will give you whatever was printed. However, what's different about this database is that it doesn't give you photographs. So if you want a picture, it won't be in it. But when you're in this article, you can save as PDF, cite, email it to yourself, print it, and more options. More options, you can see cloud saving, export a citation, other options for saving it, etc. It will give you that word count. It tells you when it was published down here, and more index terms as well. So you can also create an alert for the Bismarck Tribune if you want to do that. That's something, or an RSS feed. That's something that's available to you, or to your patron. So if your patron reads it every day and they just want to know when the new issue is up, they could do that. Then they wouldn't have to come in and ask if it was up, or go in and just check it every day. They would get that notification. All right. So I want to take a look at a database that doesn't get used as often as it really should, and it's a great resource. So I'm going to look at Consumer Health Complete, and that is under the Health section. This is an EBSCO database that looks different than other EBSCO databases. So what you can see on here is that it will have all of these different resources that you can search. What's really great about this is that it's, you know, it gives you that medical research, but most patrons won't go to WebMD. They could go here instead, and that's what we want, right? We want them to go to the databases versus going to WebMD, which probably isn't right all the time, or most of the time. So let's just type in a search term. I'll just continue with my example search term of cardio. And it starts with my all results. Now it only has a few of the items, not the full items that were on there. So this is just what they have. So I can just click on reference books, fact sheets and pamphlets, news magazines, and then images and diagrams. What's kind of nice about these images and diagrams is that these are the ones that are used in the doctor's office. These are the legitimate ones that are from Nucleus Medical Art, and they're the leading producer of these posters for doctors' offices. You can see my search term there. I'm going to go back to home, but if I put the asterisk there, so you notice that I put that asterisk there to do that truncation search, and now I have so many more articles that are available to me, and that they are just so great. Now I have encyclopedias, so these are encyclopedia entries. I have fact sheets and pamphlets, just that are more than just exercise, that gives you more options, etc. So this is a really great resource for those patrons, like I said, that use WebMD, that are kind of maybe freaking out about something or are a little hypochondriac, or they can go here and they can find legitimate resources that will give them their answers that are vetted, and it's fully available to them. They could download that PDF full text. They have the images that if they want that, or just some simple fact sheets and pamphlets. So are the reference books available through ILL? Let's look at these reference books here. So it gives you that full text though. So you could probably ILL them. But if I click on PDF full text, it gives me that reference, it gives me the article from that reference book that was in there. So you wouldn't necessarily need the book. It will give you the information. The reference book section just tells you kind of where it's from. All right, so that's, I mean, Consumer Health Complete, I could go in much more, but I still want to show you a couple more databases. So I'm going to click out of that. Now, if you ever worked with schools, you're pretty familiar with Britannica Public and Explora Public. I'm actually going to click on Explora Public because Britannica looks very similar to the school sections, even the public section. So I'm going to get to that one last if I have time. But Explorer has a little bit more information than the other ones do. So in the Explorer one, what's different from a school side is that they have information on like business and careers, current events, and health. Because I'm kind of sticking with the health theme, I'm going to click on more here. By clicking on more, this is just the overview topic, and then it gives you a few more topics underneath it. This is by no means all of the topics available. It would just be too much. So if you just need a general search, or your patron just wants to do a general health search, they could do that there. But say they're looking for something, again, on cardio. Let's do cardiovascular disease. So Explora has a great area that has a topic overview. So I can click on heart disease here, and it will give me an article that kind of explains what it is. You can listen to it, print, email, etc. So it gives me that full article, and it gives me links to these other words. So I also have, but you'll notice it says HTML full text, which means that this cannot be downloaded as a PDF. So if you want it, you could email that to yourself, or you could add it to a folder. This folder is for EBSCO. So if you have an EBSCO account, which is free to sign up for, you could sign in here and then add this to a folder, add it to your Google Drive, and you have that information. If a patron wants to access this outside of the library and not log in, they would need this permalink section, and that will get them through without having to go through the ODIN Authgate. This will just give them that article. So I will go back to our search terms. So you will see we have academic journals, we've got videos, we have periodicals. These little icons on the side here will tell you what they are. But for someone who doesn't search very often, 65,000 results is very scary, and they might not want to continue that. So to narrow down that search, I am going to go over here to the refined search section. You see that it already searches the Boolean or phrase search. Like I said, many databases do that right away. I will click on scholarly or peer-reviewed journals. I'm down to 46,000. Generally for a health topic, I like to keep this within 10 years, health or science. That way, it's up to date. So I'm actually going to keep this within 5. Now I'm down to 16,000 results. That could still be a lot. So you can search by search type down here, academic journals, reviews, or magazines. Maybe they just want a magazine. They want to make a short magazine article that still says it just still says academic journal because it's still a good resource, but it's more of a magazine format. So when I click on that, I have that article now, and I can download that here, or I could save it. Over on the left-hand side here, you have your full text, you have your table of contents for the magazine. If you want to look at the whole thing, you can. It tells you what it is. Again, there's that permalink on the side here as well. What you'll notice in the search results area, if you've ever looked at the school side of Explora, is that there are less refined options here. I'm not sure why, but there are less ones there. So this is really nice for more research, for articles that maybe someone wasn't able to get previously, and they want something more scholarly than they think they can find on Consumer Health Complete. Let's take a quick look at Britannica Public Library Edition. If you've been in the school side, you know that you have the three options that are elementary, middle, and high. Well, the three options on the public side are children, young adult, and reference center. If you have a specific search term, you can just search right here, or you can click into it. I'm going to click into this. And you'll notice that it's not quite as serious as some of the other databases. It's a little bit more approachable and maybe a little bit more intuitive. That is because it is based on the school side of things, which makes things more easier for students. So you can do an article browse, you have your world atlas, you have flash facts that change. These are new and updated articles on this day in history, and then they give you the top headlines from the New York Times each day, which is pretty cool. You have additional recommendations, these primary resource sets that don't really change. You can explore biographies, and then they have a rotating thing up here that changes, I think every other week or something. So I'm going to go in our search term, and I'm going to search that search term of cardiovascular. I'm just going to click on this one real quick. You'll see on this page that I have articles, images, etc. Well, you have the option to double click an item for dictionary, which is really nice. If someone doesn't know a word and they don't have to look it up. You have your introduction here to the topic. On this left-hand side, you have your table of contents, and then you can choose more articles or web-best resources. You'll see that we are at the level 3, which means we're in the reference center. You cannot move between the levels when you are at this area. You can translate the article, which would be great for your ESL patrons. So your English language or ELS patrons, your English language learning patrons. You can cite it or print the article, and it will also read it to you. Just going down, you can choose the table of contents after each section as well. So, are there any questions? Well, as you see, my email address and my phone number is on the slides that will go out. If you have database questions, please feel free to email me. You can email pretty much anyone at the state library, but if you have specific questions, I am happy to help you with them. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie. That was a lot of great information and always a good reminder about the different kinds of searching, you know, quotes and Boolean and all that.
It is a lot to digest.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot, but there was a lot of really great information in there. And that was actually my first look at Pebble Go. So I'm really, really excited about that. Someone had commented to me in the chat that Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next, right? Pebble Go Next will be great resources for all of the kids who are either homeschooling or hybrid schooling or distance learning or whatever different term your local school district is using. So I really encourage you to get information out to your community about those. The state library does have marketing materials available for many of the databases, and you can get those by contacting Brianne, I believe.
Yes, and we also have a order form on the marketing page on our website.
Perfect.
And that's under the Services for Library and Education. Just go to marketing and then you can click on it. And Abby put the form in the chat. We are currently working on getting promotional resources for the Pebble Goes. That's something that I mentioned to Brianne, and she is working on it. She's also really willing to make things. So if there's something that you're not seeing and you think it would be really awesome, she's willing to make it and email it to you to print off if you want. So if there's a poster, like we don't send out a whole lot of flyers. So, but if you want flyers, we can email you a flyer. But we have bookmarks. We're working on database postcards that you could just send with, because they're nice and smaller and won't get crumpled in a backpack generally, or but they could also just be stuck in a book, and then people would have that information. So we are working on some more resources for things like Britannica as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Angie. And I did put Brianne's contact info. I think I put it correctly in the chat, ndslpa@nd.gov.
That's correct.
And Pat said she's putting bookmarks in the bags for curbside pickup. That's an excellent, excellent idea. If anyone has different ways that you have promoted the databases that you'd like to share, go ahead and put it in chat or unmute yourselves and share that way.
I was going to say it'd be good to put in letters to principals if you send letters out to schools.
Oh, great idea, Carrie. Absolutely. And of course, you can distribute them through the bookmobile if you happen to have one. So that's a great idea as well. If you need help putting the databases links on your website, we can provide help with that. Especially if you're one of our WordPress libraries, we can absolutely help with that. But if you're not promoting the databases, especially if you are an ODIN member, but regardless, if you're paying for the databases, we strongly encourage you to promote them, especially right now, again, as so many kids are going to be in different learning situations. The databases can really, really be a help. And Angie, I really appreciated you reminding us the difference between a Google search and the databases and why one would go to a database. And so if someone needs help creating a flyer, why database over Google, reach out to Angie, reach out to Brianne. They can certainly help you pull that together as well. So last chance, any final questions or comments or thoughts for Angie on the databases? Carrie, that's a great idea. Anything we can do to give to city council commissioners or the county commission to talk about the value of libraries, absolutely. And definitely you want to get them out to your school community as well.